The sun was a pale disk in the sky, struggling to pierce the thick clouds that had settled over the icy plains of Valoria III. It was a world of white, where snow stretched farther than the eye could see, and strange blue crystals jutted out of the ground like frozen sculptures. The air was crisp and clean, tinged with the faint scent of minerals from the planet's surface. For a young traveler named Aaron, it was both beautiful and terrifying. Aaron had never expected to be here, hundreds of light years from Earth, traveling with someone he barely knew outside of casual greetings. Her name was Dr. Ilara Miles, the mother of his best friend, and a brilliant scientist known for her work in planetary ecosystems. She was calm, composed, and endlessly patient, a stark contrast to Aaron's impulsive, sometimes anxious energy. Today, however, even her patience would be tested. "Aaron, make sure your thermal boots are snug," Ilara said, her voice calm but firm as she checked the small hovercar's instruments. Her short, silver-streaked hair fluttered in the artificial breeze of the car's heating vent. "The storm is moving faster than predicted. We might have to land soon." Aaron tugged at the strap of his backpack, feeling the weight of his survival kit. He nodded, though he didn't need to. The truth was clear. This was going to be more dangerous than any of the simulations they had prepared for. "Do you think the storm will reach us before we find the shelter?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Ilara glanced at the icy horizon, where dark clouds were rolling in faster than normal. "Yes. And when it does, you won't have time to argue about directions. We'll need to work together." They had left the research station in the morning, intending to collect ice samples for atmospheric studies. The planet's storms were known to be sudden, but today's was different, almost unnatural in its intensity. The hovercar hummed quietly as it glided over the snow, sensors scanning the terrain ahead. Aaron watched the blue ice crystals shimmer in the fading light. There was something mesmerizing about them, almost like they were alive. Then the storm hit. It came with no warning, a blinding wall of snow and wind that slammed against the hovercar. Visibility dropped to nearly zero in seconds, and the temperature plummeted. Aaron's breath came out in white puffs inside his helmet, and the car's instruments began to flicker under the magnetic interference of the storm. "Ilara!" Aaron shouted over the roar. "I can't see anything." "Hold steady," she called back. Her hands moved deftly over the control panel, adjusting shields and thrusters to keep the hovercar stable. But the storm was relentless. The snow whipped against the windshield like icy needles, and the car skidded on a hidden patch of crystalline ice. A sudden jolt threw them both forward. Alarms blared. Aaron's heart raced. In a desperate move, Ilara brought the hovercar down, aiming for a small depression in the landscape where the ground seemed slightly more sheltered. The car shuddered, sliding to a halt with a soft crunching sound. Outside, the storm raged, covering the world in a white, swirling fury. They were stranded. Aaron unbuckled himself, his legs stiff from tension. The storm's howl made it almost impossible to hear anything else. He looked at Ilara, who was already scanning the area with a handheld sensor. "The car is fine for now, but we can't stay here long," she said. "We'll have to find shelter, and quickly." He nodded, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. It was the first time he had truly been alone with someone other than his family or friends, and in such extreme conditions. There was no one else to rely on. Just the two of them. The two began moving cautiously toward what appeared to be a shallow cave nestled in the side of a small ice ridge. Each step was slow and careful. The snow was soft in places, treacherous in others. Aaron slipped once, and Ilara caught his arm without a word. Her grip was firm but gentle, reassuring in a way that calmed the rising panic in his chest. Inside the cave, the storm sounded even louder. The wind whistled against the entrance, and snowflakes sifted through tiny cracks in the ice walls. It was not much, but it was shelter. And for now, it would have to be enough. Ilara set down a small, portable thermal unit, activating it with a soft hum. Warmth began to fill the cave, chasing away the immediate chill. Aaron helped unpack the survival kit, thermal blankets, energy bars, water packs, and a few scientific instruments. "Not the kind of adventure I expected," Aaron said, trying to lighten the mood, though his teeth chattered slightly. Elara chuckled softly. "No one ever expects the universe to test them this way. But that's why humans are remarkable. We adapt. We survive. We learn." Aaron watched her work, arranging the blankets, setting up a small light panel, and checking the sensors outside. She moved with a kind of quiet confidence that made him feel safe, even in the middle of a raging alien snowstorm. Hours passed, and the storm showed no signs of easing. They ate cold energy bars and sipped lukewarm water from the melted ice they had collected outside. Aaron found himself asking questions about the planet. The crystals. The storms, and Elara answered patiently, explaining things in simple terms so he could understand. "Why does the ice shimmer like that?" he asked, pointing to the crystals glinting outside the cave entrance. "It's a natural phenomenon," she explained. "The ice has a high mineral content, which refracts light differently than Earth ice. The storm's electromagnetic charge also interacts with the crystals, making them appear almost alive." Aaron marveled at this. "It's beautiful and dangerous." Elara smiled. "Beauty and danger often go together. That's part of what makes exploration exciting." As the hours dragged on, they began to share more personal stories, small things about their lives, their dreams, and their fears. Aaron found himself laughing at her witty observations, and she seemed genuinely interested in his thoughts. Despite the harsh environment outside, there was a warmth growing between them. The warmth of human connection, of trust built in an unexpected place. Night fell, though the storm made it impossible to see the stars. Aaron tried to rest, curled up in a thermal blanket, but he kept glancing at Elara as she adjusted the sensors. He realized that survival was not just about equipment or skills, it was about teamwork, patience, and calm thinking. Eventually, he drifted off, comforted by the sound of the storm outside and the steady presence of the scientist beside him. He dreamed of blue ice crystals and distant suns, and of a world that was as dangerous as it was beautiful. When he woke, the storm had lessened slightly, though the wind still howled outside. Elara was already awake, checking the instruments. She looked at him with a small smile. "Good morning, Aaron. Ready to see if we can find a way out?" He nodded, feeling a new sense of confidence. "Yeah, let's do it." Together, they began preparing for the next challenge. The storm was far from over, and the planet was still full of surprises. But for the first time, Aaron felt that humans with curiosity, courage, and ingenuity could face even the harshest alien storms. And that thought, more than any thermal blanket or survival kit, kept him warm. The storm outside the ice cave still raged, though the wind had softened slightly since morning. Snow swirled around the entrance in small, icy whirlwinds. But inside, warmth from the portable thermal unit had made the cave bearable. Aaron stretched, feeling stiff from sleeping on the uneven ice floor. He rubbed his hands together, watching his breath form little clouds in the chilly air. Elara was already at work, her hands moving quickly but carefully as she checked the instruments she had set up the previous night. A small holographic display projected from one of the devices, showing fluctuating temperatures and magnetic interference readings. "Morning," Aaron said, his voice echoing softly in the cave. Elara glanced at him, giving a faint smile. "Morning, Aaron. Sleep well?" "As well as you can, curled up on ice," he replied with a small laugh. She chuckled. "You'll get used to it. Humans are more adaptable than you think." When that arrestegram, Aaron followed her gaze to the small pile of crystals outside the cave. The blue ice formations glimmered, even under the dull light, filtered through the storm clouds. Something about them seemed to call for curiosity rather than fear. "Do you think we could use them somehow?" he asked. Elara raised an eyebrow. "Use them? Maybe for light or heat, or even to signal someone." She nodded slowly. Not a bad idea. Let's see what we can do. The two spent the next few hours experimenting. They carefully chipped off some of the smaller crystals and arranged them inside the cave near a reflective panel from the hovercar. Aaron shined a small flashlight through them, and the cave filled with refracted light that danced on the ice walls. It wasn't enough to melt snow or keep them warm, but it lifted the mood. For the first time since the storm began, Aaron felt a spark of hope. Ilara watched him closely, then said, "You know, improvisation like this is exactly why humans have survived on countless worlds. We see possibilities where others see obstacles." Aaron smiled, feeling proud. "I guess we really do think differently than machines." "Exactly," she agreed. "And today, our thinking could keep us safe." With the ice crystals providing some light, they turned to the more pressing problem: water and food. The snow outside was plentiful, but it was freezing, and the temperature made it difficult to melt efficiently. Ilara unpacked a small, solar-powered heating unit from the kit and set it beside a metal container. "Watch this," she said. Within minutes, the ice melted into clean water, which they poured into their portable bottles. Aaron couldn't help but marvel at how quickly she adapted tools meant for research into life-saving devices. "See?" she said, smiling at his astonishment. "Ingenuity is just another word for survival. When you have to think fast." Once water was sorted, they moved on to food. Energy bars and nutrient packs would be enough for a few days, but Ilara insisted on rationing carefully. "Conservation is as important as creation," she explained. "Humans always forget that, but in extreme situations, it's essential." Aaron nodded, listening intently. He was learning more than survival skills. He was learning a mindset. After eating a small meal, they explored the cave. It was shallow, but there were several smaller tunnels that seemed to lead deeper. Curiosity tugged at them both. Ilara activated a small portable scanner, projecting a 3D map of the cave system onto her tablet. "These tunnels aren't very deep," she said. "But they could give us extra shelter if the storm gets worse. We should be careful, though. Ice caves are unpredictable." Aaron's eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and excitement. "Can we go a little way in?" "Of course," Ilara replied. "But we stay together and stay alert." They stepped into the smaller tunnels, the crunch of snow under their boots echoing softly. The walls glistened with frost, and small crystals protruded like stars embedded in ice. Aaron reached out to touch one, marveling at its smooth, cool surface. "Imagine if humans could make something like this," he said. "Art, buildings, all from nature itself." Ilara smiled. "Humans already do. You just have to notice the materials around you and adapt. That's why exploration is so important. It teaches you to see differently." They moved cautiously, finding a shallow alcove that seemed sheltered from the worst of the wind. Ilara pointed to a small depression in the ice wall. "We can build a secondary shelter here if the main cave becomes unstable. It won't be luxurious, but it will keep us alive." Over the next hour, they worked together, using thermal blankets, parts of the hovercar's reflective panels, and even carefully shaped snow blocks to reinforce the alcove. Aaron marveled at how natural it felt to collaborate this way. Each problem, the cold, the wind, the lack of space became a puzzle to solve, and each solution reminded him of the strength of human adaptability. By mid-afternoon, they had created a small but sturdy shelter. Aaron leaned against a blanket wall, catching his breath. "Not bad for a couple of humans against a planet," he said with a grin. Ilara chuckled. "We make a good team." The light outside began to fade as the storm's clouds thickened, casting the cave in a soft blue glow from the crystals. They sat together, listening to the wind howl around them, and talked. Aaron asked questions about her work, her life, and the many planets she had visited. She, in turn, asked about his dreams, his thoughts about exploring new worlds, and the things that made him curious. Hours passed quickly in their shared conversation. For the first time, the cold didn't feel oppressive. It was as if their minds, working together, created a warmth that no storm could touch. Eventually, silence fell between them. They didn't need words. The storm's roar filled the spaces in between. Areen looked at the crystals, their light reflecting in his eyes, and realized how lucky he was. Not just for the chance to survive, but for the chance to witness human ingenuity firsthand. "Alara," he said quietly, "do you think we'll be able to get out of this soon?" She looked at him, her expression thoughtful. "Yes. We just need patience, careful thinking, and persistence. Humans have faced far worse, on Earth and beyond. The storm will end, and we'll be ready to move when it does." Aaron nodded, feeling comforted. He understood now that survival wasn't just about courage. It was about intelligence, creativity, and teamwork, all traits humans excelled at. And in the middle of an alien snowstorm, those traits shone brighter than any light or warmth they could generate. As night fell completely, they huddled together in the shelter they had built, the crystals casting soft, dancing shadows. Aaron thought about the days ahead, the storm, the challenges, and the possibilities. He realized that even in the harshest conditions, humans could find solutions, hope, and even joy. And as he drifted off to sleep once more, the thought stayed with him. No matter how far from Earth, humans could adapt, survive, and shine. For Aaron, the lesson was clear. Intelligence, creativity, and cooperation, the very essence of humanity, were as essential as warmth and shelter in a snowstorm. And with a partner like Alara, even the wildest storm seemed conquerable. The storm had grown stronger overnight. The wind howled around the ice cave like a chorus of restless spirits, and snow whipped against the entrance in sharp, swirling gusts. The crystals outside flickered and glimmered in the storm's turbulent light, casting strange shadows across the ice walls. Aaron woke to the sound of Alara moving quietly near the cave entrance. He rubbed his eyes and watched as she adjusted a small device he hadn't noticed before. A faint hum filled the air as the gadget projected a grid of glowing lines across the snow. "What's that?" Aaron asked, still drowsy. "It's a storm mapping device," Alara explained. "It helps us understand how the storm moves, where the wind is strongest, and which areas might be safer to explore." Aaron sat up, fascinated. "It's amazing. It's like we can see the storm's patterns, even in all this chaos." Alara smiled. "Humans have always tried to understand the unknown. That's how we survive. That's how we thrive." After a quick breakfast of energy bars and hot water, they began testing the device. Alara carefully placed small reflective markers in the snow near the cave entrance, while Aaron adjusted the sensors. Together, they watched the holographic projection shift as the storm roared around them. It revealed pockets of calm, areas where the wind was weaker and snow accumulation slower. "This could help us navigate if we need to move," she said. "We just need patience, careful observation, and teamwork." Quote. Aaron nodded, feeling a growing sense of confidence. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about learning, exploring, and solving problems. By mid-morning, the storm had calmed enough for them to venture slightly outside. They wrapped themselves in thermal blankets, secured their boots, and stepped into the swirling snow. The air was sharp and cold, and the crystals that dotted the landscape sparkled like tiny beacons in the gray light. As they moved carefully toward a nearby ridge, Aaron noticed something strange. The blue crystals seemed to be vibrating. He stopped, pointing to a cluster that twinkled as if responding to the storm itself. "Do you see that?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. Alara's eyes widened. "Fascinating. It looks like the storm's magnetic energy is interacting with the crystal lattice. They're not alive, but they're responsive. Aaron crouched to examine one more closely, feeling the faint vibrations through the snow. It's like they're communicating in a way we can't hear. Elara nodded. Exactly. And understanding this interaction could help us predict how storms behave on this planet. Humans have always been able to take nature's signals and use them to survive. Encouraged, Aaron and Elara began experimenting. They gently tapped some of the crystals, observing how the vibrations changed. They moved them slightly, arranging them in small patterns, and even tried channeling energy from the storm into a small, portable conductor. To their delight, the crystals glowed brighter when aligned correctly, casting warm light around them. "This is incredible," Aaron said. "We're controlling the storm somehow?" Elara shook her head. "Not controlling it. Understanding it. Observing patterns. Predicting reactions. Learning from the environment. That's what humans do best. Adaptation." Hours passed as they tested and recorded their findings. The storm's intensity made progress slow, but each small discovery brought excitement and hope. They realized that by reading the storm and the crystals together, they could find safe paths through the snow if needed, or even signal for help. Around mid-afternoon, the storm shifted again. A strange rumbling echoed through the valley, not loud enough to be dangerous, but noticeable. The crystals around them began to hum, resonating with the faint vibrations in the ground. "What's happening now?" Aaron asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. Elara studied her instruments carefully. "It's a low-frequency resonance. Could be tectonic activity, or the storm interacting with the planet's magnetic core. Either way, we need to stay alert." Aaron's stomach tightened, but he trusted Elara's calm presence. "So, what do we do?" "Observe," she said. "Document. Learn. Adapt." Together, they worked with methodical precision. Aaron held the handheld sensor steady, while Elara monitored the holographic displays. They recorded data, marking safe zones and noting the storm's energy fluctuations. The crystals seemed to react to their movements, flickering brighter when aligned with certain magnetic pulses. "It's like the planet is alive," Aaron said softly, awe in his voice. Elara smiled. "In a way, it is. Every environment has its own patterns, its own rules. The more humans study, the more we can understand these systems without forcing them. That's the beauty of our species, curiosity paired with respect." By late afternoon, the storm began to subside slightly. The wind lost some of its ferocity, and the snow fell in gentle flurries rather than stabbing gusts. Aaron and Elara returned to the cave, their equipment humming softly. "Today was amazing," Aaron said as he helped unpack their gear. "I never thought a storm could teach me so much." Elara nodded, her expression thoughtful. "You've learned quickly. Humans have a unique advantage. We can observe, interpret, and act, even in extreme conditions. That combination allows us to survive where others cannot." They settled down near the crystals that now glowed softly in the cave, reflecting gentle blues and silvers across the ice walls. For a while, they simply watched. The storm's energy had left patterns in the snow, gentle waves that shimmered in the fading light. "Do you think anyone will find us?" Aaron asked quietly. "They will," Elara replied. "We've prepared signals, and our pattern recognition gives us an edge. Even if the storm delayed rescue, humans have always found ways to signal each other across impossible distances." Aaron thought about that. Humans on Earth had crossed oceans, deserts, and mountains. They had explored space. Now, here on an alien planet, with strange storms and mysterious crystals, the same ingenuity was helping him survive. Night fell, though the storm left a gentle, almost magical glow across the landscape. Aaron and Elara huddled together for warmth, sharing energy bars and water. They talked about Earth, about planets yet to explore, and about the incredible ways humans adapted to new worlds. Do you ever think about how far we've come? Aaron asked. All the time, Ilara said. We are explorers by nature. Curiosity drives us. Knowledge sustains us. And resilience defines us. That's why humans are remarkable. Aaron smiled, feeling a quiet pride in his species. Even in the middle of a storm on a distant planet, he could see the brilliance of human potential. As sleep claimed him later that night, he thought about the day's discoveries, the crystals, the storm's patterns, and the ways humans could adapt and learn. He realized something important. Survival wasn't just about strength. It was about intelligence, creativity, and the ability to work together. And with Ilara by his side, guiding him and sharing knowledge, he felt ready for whatever challenges the storm or the planet itself might throw at them next. Humans were small in the universe, yet capable of extraordinary things. In that alien valley, amid snow, crystals, and wind, Aaron understood it fully. Tomorrow, they would venture farther. They would test their understanding, expand their observations, and maybe even discover something new, something no human had ever seen. And they would do it together. Because humans, as he had learned, could face the unknown, not with fear, but with curiosity, intelligence, and heart. The storm had finally eased. The wind no longer lashed at the cave entrance, and the snow fell in gentle, sparkling flakes that glimmered in the faint light of the alien sun. The world outside seemed calmer, almost peaceful, compared to the chaos of the previous days. Aaron stretched, his muscles sore, but alive with a sense of accomplishment. Ilara was already awake, adjusting the small devices they had set up around the cave. The crystals outside glimmered, catching the light and reflecting it in soft, warm hues. She was placing tiny sensors in a precise pattern, her movements deliberate and confident. Morning, Aaron said, yawning. Looks like we made it through the worst of it. Ilara looked up, smiling. Morning, Aaron. Yes. It seems the storm is finally losing energy, but we can't relax just yet. There's still work to do. Aaron nodded, following her instructions as they prepared the area for a final rescue signal. Using the knowledge they had gained from observing the storm and the behavior of the crystals, Ilara designed a system that would reflect light and energy in a pattern visible to orbiting drones or satellites. Think of it as a human-made beacon, she explained. We'll use the crystals to amplify the signal. Machines alone wouldn't know how to use these materials, but humans can. Together, they set to work. Aaron carefully positioned the crystals in a geometric pattern, following Ilara's guidance. He adjusted mirrors and reflective panels, angling them to catch the sun's rays in the most effective way. He felt a thrill of pride, their survival, and now, their potential rescue, depended on human ingenuity. Hours passed as they refined the system. Every adjustment mattered, and every observation counted. Aaron marveled at how Ilara could see the possibilities in a frozen landscape, turning a dangerous storm zone into a signal system that could save their lives. When they finally stepped back, the system glowed softly. The crystals reflected light in a rhythmic pulse, and the panels amplified the signal. It was subtle, but effective. Now we wait, Ilara said, settling back on a thermal blanket. Aaron sat beside her, watching the glowing crystals and feeling the satisfaction of accomplishment. Humans really can solve anything, can't we? He said softly. Ilara nodded. It's not about being unstoppable. It's about observation, creativity, and adaptation. That's why humans survive and even thrive in places others wouldn't dare. They ate a small meal, sharing quiet conversation as the hours passed. The storm's aftermath had left, the landscape transformed snowdrifts, creating natural patterns, ice formations glinting like towers, and the subtle hum of the planet's magnetic energy threading through the valley. Aaron felt like they were part of something larger than themselves, a world that demanded respect and intelligence. Suddenly, a faint sound reached them over the quiet of the valley. A soft, rhythmic hum, unlike the storm's howl, grew steadily louder. Aaron's eyes widened. Is that a drone? Elara's face lit up with relief and excitement. Yes, they must have detected our signal. They scrambled to maintain the signal, ensuring the crystals and panels reflected light properly. Moments later, a small rescue drone appeared in the sky, scanning the terrain with gentle, mechanical precision. It hovered above the cave, sensors adjusting to the reflective pulse. Looks like it worked, Aaron whispered, awe in his voice. We did it. Elara smiled, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Yes, we did. But remember, it wasn't just luck. It was understanding, adaptation, and teamwork. That's what humans bring to any challenge. The drone sent a soft beep, signaling confirmation. Within minutes, a larger rescue vehicle appeared, descending slowly from the sky. It was sleek, designed for extreme environments. But even it relied on the human-created signal to locate them. Aaron's heart leaped with excitement. Their ingenuity had bridged the gap between survival and rescue. As the hovercraft landed, the hatch opened, and a team of rescuers waved. Aaron and Elara stepped out, shielding their eyes from the light, reflecting off the snow and crystals. The team approached, impressed by the patterns and signals they had used. Remarkable work, one rescuer said. We wouldn't have found you without this. You turned a natural hazard into a guiding light. Elara nodded, her calm confidence intact. Humans have always done this. Observe, adapt, and solve problems. That's how we thrive in any environment. Aaron looked at the crystals, the snow, and the icy ridges that had been their temporary home. He felt a deep pride in himself, Elara, and in humanity. Humans were small in the universe, but capable of extraordinary things. Creativity, intelligence, and resilience could overcome even the most hostile environments. As they boarded the rescue vehicle, Aaron couldn't stop thinking about the lessons he had learned. Survival wasn't just about courage or strength. It was about curiosity, observation, and collaboration. Humans had survived deserts, oceans, mountains, and now even alien storms. And the same traits would carry them to other worlds, other challenges, and other discoveries. During the ride back to the research station, Irene looked out at the sparkling landscape, feeling a quiet sense of wonder. The storm had transformed the valley into a surreal, crystalline world, dangerous, yes, but full of possibilities. And humans, he realized, had the power to navigate that danger with intelligence and heart. Elara glanced at him from the seat beside him. You've learned well, Aaron. Curiosity, patience, and ingenuity. Those are the tools humans need more than anything else. I see that now, Aaron replied. And it's amazing. Even when things seem impossible, we can find a way. She smiled, giving him a small nod. Exactly. That's the essence of humanity. We're small, but clever. Vulnerable, but adaptable. We survive because we think, we observe, and we work together. As the research station came into view, Aaron felt a sense of closure. The storm was behind them, but the lessons it taught would stay forever. He realized that survival wasn't just about living. It was about understanding, learning, and growing. Humans had the ability to thrive in any environment, even worlds as alien and dangerous as Valoria 3. Once they landed, the team helped them out of the vehicle, and Aaron felt a rush of gratitude for Elara, for human ingenuity, and for the chance to witness the strength of collaboration firsthand. He looked back at the valley, the shimmering crystals now peaceful under the soft alien sun, and whispered quietly to himself, "Humans really are something special." Elara laughed softly at his comment, not because it was humorous, but because it was true. The research station welcomed them back with warmth and comfort. Inside, they thawed, drank hot beverages, and shared stories with the team. But even amidst the mundane comforts of home base, Aaron's mind lingered on the alien storm, the dancing crystals, and the power of human intelligence. That night, as he lay in a proper bed for the first time in days, Aaron reflected on everything they had faced. He realized that human resilience was not about fighting the storm or conquering it. It was about observation, understanding, and clever action. Even the smallest human could make a difference when using their mind and working together. And as sleep carried him away, he knew that the lessons of Valoria 3 would stay with him forever. Humanity, he understood now, was defined not just by survival, but by the brilliance of its curiosity, the strength of its cooperation, and the courage to face the unknown with intelligence and heart. For Aaron, the alien valley had been a challenge, a teacher, and a reminder. Humans were small, yet capable of extraordinary things. And as long as they kept thinking, observing, and working together, no storm, no matter how alien or fierce, could stop them. The storm was over. The valley was quiet, and humanity's light shone brighter than any crystal.